The absence of one of the Forsaken in the Wheel of Time's TV show raises questions about its approach to one of the many mysteries from the books. Based on how things have turned out so far, it's apparent that several characters from Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time novels didn't make the jump from the page to the screen. Given the sheer size of its universe, it's not surprising that some of the thousands of characters in Jordan's book didn't make it. However, it's not just the tertiary players in the story that are getting removed. It appears that the Wheel of Time has also omitted a significant portion of its villain lineup. In the source material, there are 13 members of the Forsaken, the immortal channelers that serve the Dark One. But judging by the broken seals in the Wheel of Time Season 2 finale and the statue spotted in a Season 1 episode, there are only 8 Forsaken in the TV show. 5 look to have been cut. There's been no explicit confirmation on who those characters are, but the direction of the story gives the impression that Agina is one of them. In terms of Rand's narrative, Agina being written out isn't a great loss, but it does pave the way for some interesting changes to the lore. The origin of the Trollarchs in the Wheel of Time's books and show explained. Agina created the Trollarchs in the books. Though not exactly crucial to the wider story, Agina does hold some level of significance when it comes to the history of Wheel of Time's world. In the books, it's eventually understood that Agina is behind the creation of the Trollarchs, the monsters that comprise the Dark One's armies and the most prominent form of shadow spawn in the books. During the Age of Legends, Agina used the One power to warp parts of humans and animals together, thus giving way to the birth of these grotesque monsters that fight the Dark One's battles for him. The TV version of the story has confirmed a similar origin story for the Trollarchs. The on-screen notes in the series premiere mentioned that shadow spawn are dark constructs developed by a man who served the Dark One during the age of the First Dragon. Because of their connection to Agina, a human creating the Trollarchs is consistent with the source material, but it's hard to say if these notes are referencing Agina specifically. Admittedly, there wouldn't be a reason to doubt Agina's role if the show didn't already cast severe doubts on him having a place in the show's world. Why Agina has likely been cut from the Wheel of Time show. Agina is probably one of the Forsaken the show is cutting. Wheel of Time: The Eye of the World cover art. When it comes to identifying which 5 Forsaken the show has elected not to use, Agina is one of the 2 easiest to settle on, with another being Bolthamel. In the first book, The Eye of the World, Agina and Bolthamel appear at the Eye of the World and die in battle against Rand Ulthor and the Green Man. The show adapted this fight in the Season 1 finale when it took Rand and Moiraine to the Eye of the World, but curiously, neither Agina or Bolthamel appeared. By skipping their most notable contribution to the story, the show effectively signaled the removal of both Agina and Bolthamel. Considering how quickly they were introduced and disposed of in the Eye of the World in comparison to the much larger roles most of the other Forsaken had, both being cut does make sense. Granted, Agina and Bolthamel did return later after being reincarnated as Ozengar and Arengar respectively. But given that the deaths that sparked these reincarnations didn't happen, there isn't much expectation for the Wheel of Time to utilize them in this way either. After all, the TV show will surely be a shorter version of the story, meaning that bringing back dead Forsaken via reincarnation may not be necessary to keep the narrative going. What Agina being cut could mean for the origin of the Trollarchs. Did a different member of the Forsaken create the Trollarchs for the Dark One? A statue of the Forsaken Asmodean in the Wheel of Time. With the Trollarchs and the Age of Legends both being recurring pieces of the story, there's a good chance the show does eventually address the creature's origins at length, just as the books did. It's offered a few flashbacks to the Age of Legends already, and is sure to do so again as the show continues, allowing for plenty of opportunities to showcase the construction of the Dark One's forces. If and when this happens, the Wheel of Time can delve into how they were manifested and exactly who made them. But with Agina not likely to be among the 8 Forsaken in the show, the answer to this question may be a different member of the group.